Story number one. The true nature of some money making businesses may shock you. Now, this story made it to the top 8 because it deals with the influx of cash and the lack of payment to the people who feel like they deserve more cash. There's a sad story that I saw made it in. Lion King's VFX company has closed because they only broke even after the movie grossed over $1 billion. Now this is a pretty sad story because I'm in the movie making business, and I see it all the time where a movie will gross a lot of money, and people who aren't in unions and who are working very, very hard in the behind the scenes, they don't get paid a lot of money. So that's why this story crept in. And it's sad because especially around the holiday season where people are supposed to be blessed with abundance of gifts and love. And it's really sad to see a story like this make it in because Lion King, it was cutting edge. They used CGI to the max. They made those lions look and animals look as real as possible. And I hope that people will see this story and share some of their holiday cheer or something to get these people, because when you see a company, these people, they went all out. I mean, they nearly died in front of the video screen to get this movie done. And to see that movie make so much money and them have to go out of business is sad, because we may never see a movie on that scale of excellence again. So that's why this story crept into the top 8. Carpenter awarded 217,000 francs for workplace injury. We see a lot of injuries happen on the workroom floor. A lot of people who are going to bat, and this story made it. I was even at the post office, and I overheard a conversation between a customer talking about government employees. He was saying how the government makes so much money that they can't hire employees. This is not actually true. The government employees are working hard as hell. Sometimes they face brutal management, brutal regimes in government. Government usually rules by fear, so it's very, very tough for a lot of government employees. Trust me, if they're making 15, 11, or any type of dollar an hour, they are working hard for that money, and it's almost like slavery. Anybody working for the postal service, for any type of institution, will tell you they earn every penny of that money. So you will see this around the holidays too. That's why this story crept into the top 8. You'll see a lot of unnoticing things happening where you may not notice what a person's job is like, and you may forget this. Everybody is having issues with they have to motivate themselves, and they have to get up every morning to do that 9-to-5 job. So you will see this happening in story number 1. That's why when you talk about the true nature of money-making businesses, what happens on the workroom floor may actually shock you. I had to shine attention on this story. That's why I crept to the top 8. House votes to provide a pathway to citizenship for thousands of undocumented farm workers. Even on the farm, cheap labor is needed on farms. Farmers go through a lot. You will see this when you look at historical documents about slavery. Anybody who's ever worked on a farm will tell you that's a tough job. So now they're talking about giving a pathway to citizenship for some undocumented immigrants. Like I said, every story is different around this time of year. Every story that makes it into the top 8. I think that when you look at the real picture, it shows you that everybody has a role to play in every part of a function of life. When you see people who are cheating and depriving people of knowledge to put them in, so giving these farmers a chance to become citizens probably will be a good thing. That way they can advance and maybe one day have their own farm. That's the true American dream. Dunkin' employee admits to spitting in cop's coffee, but says it wasn't because he was a cop. Pretty sad story, but this is what happens on the workroom floor in fast food restaurants. They will tell you there was another story that talked about how a McDonald's customer got 3 years in prison for throwing hot coffee in a drive-through worker's face. So even in the fast food business, the restaurant floor, it's a tough business, and they have to face just as much hardship as people who are getting a lot of money per hour. So you will see a lot of stories like this. There was another one. Taco Bell employee swung a machete at a drive-through customer truck following an argument at the speaker. So that's why this story crept into the top 8. You cannot help but to notice what happens in these money-making businesses, these fast food restaurants. Every business has its ups and downs. The sad part about it is that people, they have to earn a wage, and that's why this story made it to the top 8. Because I mean, when I was in high school, I used to work fast food at Burger King, and I'm telling you, it was a hell of a job. We had some freaky employees. Sometimes they be doing things, and and then you have sometimes they be like, they put teenagers in management, and it would mix well on the workroom floor. So being a human being, you learn that everybody's different and everybody has a different way of managing their ups and downs. But the fact is that you have to do a job, you have to do it well, and you have to represent that company. So that's why this story crept to the top 8. Another story that made it in that caught my attention. In Pakistan, an angry mob of lawyers attacked hospital, causing deaths of 3 patients. So if you can do anything this holiday season, you should be able to understand that some people who are working that 9 to 5 job, they have it just as hard as you, maybe. And celebrating the holidays, everybody celebrates differently, and that's one thing you'll learn in the Mediator. Is I try to shine light on every situation in a peaceful manner, letting people know that the only way that we can actually do anything is if we try to get this thing right. So that's why these stories, story number 1 is a unique story, the true nature of what actually happens on these money-making businesses. Everybody will tell you what happens on their job. Amazon employees, Google employees, Microsoft employees, every job is different. The Postal Service, the military, every job has its ups and downs, and I couldn't help but shine light on this, and that's why this story crept into the top 8. And it'll probably, I said it'll make some steam, because there's always something happening, even in the newsrooms. Everybody, sometimes in churches, all over the place, all over the world, something is happening on the workroom floor. As a cop, as a judge, these jobs can feel like it's the end of the world someday, and but at the end of the day, these people have families. They have to go home to their families, and everybody, like I said, has a job to do. And that's why I thought the story would be special to make it into the top 8. I dissected it, looked at it, and that's why I crept into the top 8. You're in the Mediator, me, Brian West, where it is my duty to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it, it doesn't take much. All you have to do is visit www.method, it's above my head, the number 8, inc.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Reminding you that I just stay in the middle, navigating from the right to left, watching the pendulum flow. The media, the news, the journalists, the people on the front lines, they deserve most of the credit. I just do the dirty work, reading, dissecting story after story for you, the listener, so you can stay informed. If you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. All you have to do is visit www.method, the number 8, inc.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Or you can check out the stories that almost made it in and did make it in. This is a spot, this is a time capsule where I document story after story every week, so you can be informed, stay informed, do your work. And don't forget that everybody celebrates the holidays differently, but it's the same concept that we all are searching for, looking for a reason to find our place in this world. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. We're headed into story number 2. So like I said, if you want to be a contributor, method, the number 8, inc.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. Story number 2. Money and environment are at war. That means that people's dollars and the environment, climate change, and what they're talking about. I've seen story after story about climate change making it to the top 8. There were so many stories. Greta Thunberg making the Time Person of the Year. A lot of people are just kind of irky about a young person being chosen. But hey, what could happen? But this climate ordeal, the one thing I can say that's great about it is that it's shining light on where the money is channeled when it comes to the environment. Some people say it's a waste of effort because we need fossil fuels, we need oil, but there have been a lot of victims in the oil business on that route to energize the globe. But what you'll notice about this story, Reason why it crept into the top 8 is how come when these businesses come into a neighborhood, like you'll see like a big oil company come into a neighborhood, why do a lot of people suffer? Like, like the water gets contaminated. So that's why story number 2 is kind of interesting, but it makes you think. They're talking about how big oil is to blame for climate change. Fuel guzzling California, another story that made it in, threatens Trump administration over fracking plans. Now, people are reaping the benefits of this energy. They're reaping the benefits of coal energy, fossil fuels, nuclear energy, and now we get the benefits of windmills, solar power, clean energy. But the thing is that you need energy. So there is a divide in this story as story number 2. And that's why it made it into the top 8. Now we have the benefits of having LED lights, but what a lot of people don't know is those LED lights still have mercury, which is pretty damaging to to people's health. So you look at, there is no way out of this, folks. Either you're energized or you're not energized. So when you look at story number 2, people are going to bat for these things that we need to get around. We need planes, we need cars, no matter what type of car it is. We need, you have horses, you have your legs. But the thing is that we all need these types of energy. Some people have been sacrificed, have lost their life in these businesses. I was even looking at, there was a story, I think a book by Jane Meyer. It was called Dark Money. And it talked about how some of the money that was channeled into a lot of businesses that we see now have been pretty much have been used and abused by the oil companies. So that's why story number 2 I thought was unique. I looked at a few headlines. It's very interesting how they chose a climate activist as the person of the year, Greta Thunberg. So I thought story number 2. That's why I crept into the top 8, because this climate change thing is stirring up a lot of talk. It's creating a lot of conversation. But the thing is that you cannot have one without the other, and people are realizing this. I even found a story that a few weeks ago talking about how the Earth may have been on the other side of the galaxy when the dinosaurs didn't exist. So is this climate change thing all a big hoax? Could it be that the Earth is just changing? We're just hitting a different part of the galaxy, and they're talking about how they're blaming it on it's going to end all civilizations, it's going to end the world. But could we just be going through a change? I mean, that's basically what happens in nature. So story number 2, money and the environment are at war. They definitely are. We're having a lot of states of thinking, a lot of academics on this. So that's why story number 2 crept its way into the top 8. You're in the Mediator, me, Brian West, where it is my duty every week to breeze through the stories, give you what you need, your daily dose of vitamin news, going through the masses, running and doing my thing, trying to figure out, skim reading on which story is most beneficial to you, the viewer and the listener. So if you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, Method.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Coming in here, giving you what you need, your daily dose of vitamin news. As a child, raised up to the clouds, to the masses, told to mediate, to find the news stories by the prophets. They told me that I would be something great in this life, and I would do something great. And that's what I feel like. I feel great giving you the top 8. So if you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. Like I said, I just stay in the middle, watching the pendulum float from the right to the left, figuring out which stories are right for you. So if you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, Method.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. Like I said, if you want to check out the stories that almost made it in, did make it in, this is the time capsule. You can check out our Twitter feed on the website, www.method, the number 8, INC.com, Method.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. Story number 3. How long will Trump be able to use the economy as leverage? This story crept its way into the top 8 because if you haven't been keeping an eye on the news, you would notice that the president has been getting a lot of attention with these impeachment hearings. And the thing is that he will mainly use the economy as leverage. People have been seeing the job market change with the tax cuts from the government, giving it to the workers to basically boost the economy, and somehow the economy has been able to keep up with the just somehow creating jobs and getting people, trying to get people back into the workforce. So Trump is using this. There's been tons of predictions about a recession and people saying that pretty soon there will be a recession, but Trump is holding his ground. Even there's even a report talks about how that he says that Trump calls report on China trade deal completely wrong. So he's basically saying that they're about to reach some type of agreement pretty soon, and this actually sent the stock market up. It sent it up. So people are looking. I think there was a story that said the stocks hit a record deal on the hopes of on this deal. So the stocks went up. They hit a record on trade deal talks. So when you see a story like this, like I said, I always like to introduce this story about Trump's economy because when you look at Trump's economy, it's stayed steady. We're seeing gains, and he's been able to, no matter how harsh he's been, no matter how much he's been divisive and cleverly, cunningly using his advantage with the right and their policies, using them. He's been able to keep the economy stagnant with the wages staying. So we can see a lot of story number 3. You'll probably see analysts hitting on this topic because it is fascinating to see how a guy who understands some of the rules of engagement when it comes to businesses and how he's kind of mixed with politics and the political atmosphere, how we've seen a lot of stuff come out in Washington. But a lot of people just don't like this president. They don't like his style. They don't like the way. But some people love this guy, and he has a lot of people on his base. Some people think that he just plays the game, and but there's a lot of different point of views on this story. But he can use the economy as leverage in his debate. That he can take, which he's been doing, is taking a lot of people hostage by saying that that he's the reason why there's a good economy. Nobody fact checking this is probably the thing that analysts will do. Well, they will look at the trends. People want to see growth. They want to see job growth. But the scariest part about story number 3 is that there's actually proof that you go inside some cities and they have been hit hard by businesses going out of businesses. We've seen it with Sears. You go to some of the local malls, it's a deserted island. So this story has some different angles on it. But Trump somehow is able to still make an argument that he is the reason why the economy is doing so well. So story number 3, you'll probably see, especially around the holidays, when you look at how the retail sector usually benefits from the holiday season, you'll probably see a story like story number 3. Kind of, they'll probably hit it from different angles to try to see what is actually happening in this economy. And I think there was another story that was talking about the China trade deals. It was saying how they may agree on a limited deal to halt the trade wars. So you can see each economy is suffering. One thing I can say as a businessman that doesn't make sense in this whole trade war escalation, that when people look for a leader, they look for a vision. And some people don't see where we're headed with this trade war. Some people say, even when you look at Brexit and how these companies are trying to restructure their economies, some people are still confused with the leadership and how they've kind of held all of the pieces. You have to think, 1% of the world owns most of the wealth, while the other 99% usually either has to work or try to find some way to make ends meet. So people are starting to realize there's something wrong with this picture. But when you see rich and wealthy people, especially in leadership positions, use this as leverage to kind of hold the public hostage for votes, you're actually for a recipe for disaster. And that's why there's a lot of division, a lot of polarization when it comes to this administration. Story number 3, how long will Trump be able to use the economy as leverage? Really is an illogical question, because you shouldn't be doing this. You should not be using the economy or anybody else's money as leverage to try to gain political points, which is very, very sad that we've come to this point. And that's why story number 3 made it in. I look at each administration when I look at professionalism, I look at how they represent the office, and we've seen a lot of uncertain and unsettled nature out of this president's style of leadership. Give him credit. He's hung in this much, but I think he may want to be approach this situation a little bit more seriously. And the reason why I say that is not because I do not dislike anybody in office. It's just because when you're using other people's money and you're trying to make things right, I don't think it's your doing. I think you do make decisions, but I think that it all boils down on how you're handling and but using and taking everybody hostage is very, very scary. And we see a lot of that in this new culture where people want credit. I think people are just madly in love with themselves, which is very, very scary. And that's why story number 3 made it to the top 8, because when you're in love with yourself, you kind of forget that there's a lot of people around you, and everybody contributes to the workroom, on the workroom floor. So story number 3 is unique in that sense. I don't want to, like I said, we've had so much fun having this man in the White House. We'd hate to see it all end with an impeachment, especially around the holidays. But we've had so much fun watching this show that nobody really knows how it's going to end. And I'm one of those people. Yeah, you're the Mediator with me, Brian West, where I don't hate, I show love. Trying my best to find a story that are most beneficial. I'm just like you. I have no clue where we're headed with this administration. I think that I don't know who is actually doing a good job anymore, but I don't think it's smart to take all the credit for saying that if I get impeached, the economy and all the American people are going to suffer. That's very, very scary, but we live in those times right now, so we just have to accept it. But my advice to you is talk heavily around the Christmas holiday tree or whatever you call it, however you celebrate. Let your heart be light, because when we're looking at all this chaos and corruption, all of our troubles could be in sight. That's my little Christmas poem. If you want to be a contributor of the Mediator, me, Brian West, I come in here every week to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories, trying to get you to understand which stories are most important so you can stay informed. If you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method8inc.com. It's above my head where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. I just stay in the middle, navigating from the right to left, watching the pendulum float, figuring out which stories are most beneficial to you, the listener. So you can be informed, you can stay informed, and you can know what's happening. If you want to be a contributor, it does not take much. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method8.com. You can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Like I said, I stay in the middle. The media, the journalists, the people on the front lines, they deserve most of the credit. I just navigate, figure out what stories are most beneficial. So if you yourself want to be a contributor, help out, be a part of this time capsule every week so you can know what's happening in the world. Be informed, figure out what stories are most important. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method8.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. Story number 4. How bad is the college issue, the college problem? Folks, this story was just destined to make it in. I've been keeping an eye on the college situation. They've been throwing Betsy DeVos, the secretary, under the bus, talking about how college students are in the crosshairs of a new financial fraud. They're talking about the University of Phoenix. They want to cancel $141 million in student debt to settle FTC dispute. They also reached a $191 million settlement in the FTC. And there was even a House Democrats they grilled Betsy DeVos over denying student borrowers relief. This story, when we look at how sad this story is, what's sad about story number 4 is the fact that the baby boomers and the past administrations made these rules. So college students in this new environment, millennials, my generation, are saying they're blaming the policies from the past, and they're saying, "Hey, you made these rules. There's no jobs. We've got all this money to spend on college. We can't afford it." This is a sad, sad situation, and that's why story number 4 crept its way into the top 8, because there are a lot of bitter Americans right now because they don't have any money. How could you live in capitalism with no money? You need money. So it's very, very sad. Some people have good jobs. They're not even putting their money to their debt. But all I can say is that around the holidays, it's probably great, especially if you have family and friends and loved ones, to keep traditions alive. No matter what you do, keep that family atmosphere going. Try to keep your heart in the right place and try to show some love in the best way you can. I mean, even if you can't buy something, you can still make something. You can still write a card. You can use your own skills to try to make somebody else's holiday brighter. You could go serve. You could go. There's probably tons of reverends waiting for somebody to come sit in the crowd so they can hear a message. There's all different types of things you could do around the holidays. You could take somebody to a movie. I mean, like I said, you could take them out to dinner. You could make dinner. If you have a special loved one, a special girl you're trying to impress, everybody, you don't have to take the holidays. Maybe you could go to give somebody's kid a present. I mean, everybody can celebrate the holidays differently. But when we look at these issues, they're not going to go away. And the reality is that these policies, somehow they've got to make going to school cheaper for the college students so they don't have as much problems. They've tried everything. They've even looked at how other countries handle education. But there's something in story number 4 that can teach us all a lesson, and that's debt, and that's the fact that no matter what we do, everything costs money, and debt will be there. So that's why I thought the story was kind of unique, especially around this time of year. I keep seeing it. And let's just hope that this story has a happy ending, because there's a lot of, I have college debt. Probably most of the people you see in America have bills probably over 500, I owe over 70, 50,000 college loans. It's a real deal situation, folks. And I thought it would be, I looked at this story and it's at number 4, almost made it to the top 4. And it's a real deal story. People are suffering with their college loans, and they don't have a job. They need a job. They're trying to get answers from their leadership. I say if you're suffering, become an activist. Let your story be heard. Remember, closed mouths do not get fed when it comes to this issue. This is why these candidates get elected. If they're not doing anything to shine light on what you're going through or your issue, then don't put them in office. But you do have to understand money. You do have to be educated on money, and that's why story number 4 crept into the top 8. You're the Mediator, me, Brian Westward. It's my duty every week to be light in these stories, be clever, try to figure out which stories are the right stories. I have to be smart when deciding a story. I have to be wise. I have to navigate. I have to be a navigator. So if you want to be a contributor, help out my cause, helping out the arts, doing what I can in my allotted amount of time on this planet. I'm doing my dance, watching the pendulum float from the right to the left, trying to stay in the middle, stay grounded so you can be informed. I'm using my thoughts, my time wisely. I'm using my money wisely. I'm investing into a program. This is my present, my gift to you, the viewer, so you can stay informed. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm just here to enlighten you so you can know what's happening. Everybody wants a piece of the pie at the dinner table. I don't want much. I just want to stay informed and keep you informed. And if we could share the pie together, we could have a great conversation. So that's why I'm here. If you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. I have to remind you that I just stay in the middle, navigating the news for you. So if you want to be a contributor, the media, the people on the front lines, they deserve most of the credit. I just navigate. You can check out the stories that almost made it in, did make it in. Go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything all of the sources are there. So that's why this is is a nice little time capsule so you can stay informed. Like I said, as a child, I was raised up to the clouds by the prophets and told to go to the masses and mediate. So if you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. Story number 5. How did we become so dependent on drugs? This is a big question, and it makes us wonder, how did we become so dependent on drugs? There's some stories that made it in. House prescription drug plan tries to lower drug prices. They're even trying to make it take the cheap route. There was a story that made it about how Yang is actually talking about public manufacturing of generic drugs. They are really trying to tap into this thing to make it to where people will have to pay less for drugs. If you don't know that the pharmaceutical industry stems from what the name is, pharmaceutical. It used to be considered witchcraft in the olden days, but now it is a main part of the medical industry. You go to hospitals, you see people in the hallways high off some type of a medication. You see people getting addicted to pain pills, pain medications. You see how it affects their whole family. Their brain chemistry is all messed up. Then if you take it to the biblical days, the Bible, it tells you how some plants, like I said, this story, some plants were not supposed to be, or trees. It talks about the gardens. There's a lot of wisdom in this story. And every time I talk about this, I try to bring that up because that's the main reference points. Now, don't get me wrong. The pharmaceutical industry, the doctors have some type of method of healing or trying to heal people. But we have to ask ourselves, how do we become so dependent on all of these medications? I mean, one medication, it takes care of one thing, it messes up another thing. There's a side effect. You're getting dizzy. This stuff is messing. Girls are taking drugs. They're having babies while they're on drugs. Folks, this is a recipe for disaster, and it shows you that there may be some wisdom in the word, as somebody would say. There's another story that made it in. More people in the U.S. are dying at home rather than the hospital. So do we need to listen to our doctors? Do we need to be more active in reading our labels? I mean, everybody is doing something to try to stay healthy. Even with health food, should we be a little bit wise on that? And no matter what you do, you're going to live and you're going to die. But like I said, story number 5 tackles all that in a nutshell. Alleged drug dealer throws loose fentanyl powder at a cop's face. This is bad news, folks, and it shows you that there's a dysfunctional problem that we have amongst ourselves. There is a story in Vice about a Freemason who says that he was born to sell drugs. This Freemason goes into detail about his life as a drug dealer, his ups and downs. It is a very, very interesting story, and that's why this story crept. It almost made it into the top 3 stories. There was another story that cannabis is getting more popular, especially among people with depression. People are getting high as hell, and they are doing it for who knows. Human beings are getting depressed. They're getting drunk. They're having multiple sex partners. I mean, this is probably a golden age where we should be trying to get some type of stability. We have all of these resources and abundance of wealth, and people are still getting high off the horse. It's very, very sad. A man got sick vaping THC for his chronic pain. A woman was operated on while not properly anesthetized. Is that word? Anesthetized. She was not properly. I guess she didn't take the proper anesthetic, and so that's why this story crept in, and it just showed you that we've pretty much become too dependent on drugs. I hope I pronounced that word right. Anesthetized. It's a different type of word. Best man at his brother's wedding punched the bride. Don't ask me why he did this, but some people say he was drunk, and but That's just lets you know that we may be tipping off the cognac a little bit too much, folks. If that drugs is bad, and it's got people off the happy juice. I look at this story for what it is. We've become a different being. Insulin prices double, causing a lot of people with diabetes to go to the extremes. People are trading medication online, according to Vice. An article by Daily Mail asks why people are so are so content with happy pills instead of HRTs. More and more Americans, like I said, are not only trading in prescription drugs, but they're trying to be treated with natural remedies as well. Folks, story number 5 is a hot topic, and it shines light on an issue that we all could be facing, and that we're all having some drug problems. I take one drug, and I have to take a breathing medicine, but I take it modestly. But I try not to get out of control with it. But some people have went drug crazy, and it asks a question. In story number 5 is, how did we become so dependent on drugs? How did this happen? I mean, it's a very interesting question. Could spark a conversation, and that's why story number 5 made it in. Anesthetized, that's the word for the day. Anesthetic, anesthetized. I could make up a word. But that's the question. How did we become so dependent on drugs? You're the Mediator, me, Brian Westwood. It's my duty every week to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories. I'm not here to dope you up, drug you up. I'm just here to keep you informed with your vitamin news. If you want to be a contributor, doesn't take much. This is good for you. I'm here for you, giving you everything you need in 1 hour of news. So if you want to be a contributor, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or the sponsored program. I have to remind you every week, I just stand in the middle, navigating from the right to the left, figuring out which stories are most important. You yourself have to discern that the media and the people on the front lines, they deserve most of the credit. So don't, like I said, I just navigate. I do this every week. But if you're discerning on who to give the credit to, please give it to them. My sources are all listed on the website. Every journalist deserves all the credit. So if you want to be a contributor, you go to the website, check out the stories that almost made it in, did make it in. All you have to do is visit above my head, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method8.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. Story number 6. Where is all the money? This is a key, pivotal story to anybody who is engaging in capitalism. And there's been a lot of talk about war, funding wars, who funds these wars, and where all of the money actually is, and why people do not have a lot of money. I have to approach this topic with extreme professionalism and love and understanding that there are a lot of broke people, a lot of homeless people out on the street because they lack money, they lack the medicines, they lack the will to stay healthy because they don't have the money, and people are just making bad decisions with the money that they do have, or they have no choice but to make bad decisions. But it begs the question is, where is all the money? If you're just tuning in or you check out the stories that made it in earlier, we talked about the 1% and how 1% of the world holds most of the money. So it has people wondering, especially the people who have to work a 9-to-5 job, who are getting fed up with the system. They want to know where the money is. Congressional negotiators reach a tentative deal on a $1.3 trillion spending package. Does the government have all the money? Does a billionaire hold all the money? Where is all of the money? That's the big question. Do you have the money? Are you spending the money, especially in the economy? Are you saving the money? Are you putting the money in a CD account or in your IRAs? Is there enough money? It's never enough. Never enough. 90% of the Vatican's main charity reportedly not going to the poor, a U.S. pastor claims. So even the Vatican, the churches, what are they doing with the money? They're supposed to be helping out the poor. Why are there so many poor people on the streets? Somebody's been hoarding cash, folks. And that's why story number 3, if you want to get to the bottom of it, that's the meat of the topic. WeWork will lay off more than 400 employees in New York. San Francisco's poor street conditions, it was a factor in the city's loss of a $64 million Oracle Tech conference. That's bad. They're losing money. Money is the key driver in all economies. In capitalism, the only way you can have a revival, a coming back, or a come to Jesus moment is there has to be donation. There has to be sacrifice. Some type of love. In every religion, you still have to have a currency system to keep things afloat. How does the church get a new roof? People have to invest. How does the gym clean the pool water? It costs money. Everything you see around me costs money. That's a fact. A quarter of seriously ill Americans avoid treatment because of money. Did you know that? There's money in this story. Don't let money change it, but there's money. The fact that money is a necessity. A Maryland real estate company surprised all of its employees with a $10 million bonus. That's good. Somebody is sharing the money. So don't tell that person what to do with the money. Just ask them if they could lend you some of the money so you could pay them interest. The money problem, the money issue. Article claims that Trump is coming up with new ways to punish the poor. That means that the poor people are already suffering. So why would the government punish them with less food stamps or less money? Folks, everybody needs money, especially around the holidays, the precious. Everybody needs the mighty dollar. So we should be spending the money, getting children gifts, finding a way to get money by going to work, saving the money, paying the bills. People who suffer from debt do not suffer from debt because they are deprived of wealth. They suffer from debt because they fail to know what to do with the money. Man, I should have written that down. But that's what I'm saying. The money is the key to everything in capitalism. And that's why story number 6 crept into the top 8. You analyze it for what it is. Where is all of the money? The 1% are trying to dictate, to tell you what to do with your mighty dollar when they're the ones passing out the paycheck. What if they were put in your shoes, folks? Would they do something differently with the money? Always remember, stay motivated, stay loving, and stay willing to make what we can with the money, to make the money, to spend the money, to make peace with the money. That's why story number 6 is important. Where is the money? Especially around the precious holiday season. Don't get bitter. Don't get upset. But you have to find a way to make the money. You're the Mediator, me, Brian West. It's my duty every week to give you the top 8 headlines of developing news stories. Story number 6, where is all the money? That's the question. We're headed into the top 2 stories that made it this week. If you made it this long, you're doing something great with your time. You're staying informed. But that's the question around this holiday season. Where is all the money? Is it overseas? Is it in Afghanistan? Is it in Iraq? Or is it in your pocket? Are you holding on to the money? Should you be spending the money? Should you be giving me some of the money? That's a good idea. If you want to be a contributor and you want to help me out, doesn't take much. You get something out of the deal. You can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. That is spectacular. The website is above my head. I'm not asking you. I'm not demanding of you. I'm showing you the way. If you want to be a contributor, help out, doesn't take much. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method8.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. I'm keeping you informed. If you don't pay, I pay. It's a good deal. That's what this program is all about. But I constantly remind you, the pendulum flows from the right to the left. I stay in the middle, navigating the news from the right to the left. The media, the journalists, the people on the front lines, they deserve all the credit. I just navigate, staying in the middle. We're talking about money, and when people talk about money, they get afraid. They get scared because there's always a discount, and they want to save the money. Don't be afraid to spend the money this year, folks. Don't be afraid. If you want to be a contributor, METHOD, number 8inc.com, method8.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor the program. I'm just kidding. Do what you want with your money. It is your money. You earned it. And try to spend it wisely. That's my advice to you. If you want to be a contributor this week or help out in any week, any day, any time, the website is, Lord willing, always there. It doesn't take much. You can check out the stories that almost made it in, did make it in. All you have to do is visit www.method, the number 8inc.com, method8e.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. Story number 7, and the top 2 stories that made it to the meter this week. Kids not being treated or not doing kids' things anymore. There's a lot of stories that have made it in about children. Now, that's one of the most important parts about the holiday season, is that kids have to get something out of it. What you'll learn is that every family celebrates the holidays differently. Some people light candles. Some people give out gifts. Some kids get woke up in the middle of the night. Everybody does it differently, but there's a tradition that has to take place so these kids will pass it down to their generation. Some people don't even celebrate the holidays, which is pretty sad, but I figure if you're going to get some joy out of it, you might as well find a way to celebrate the holidays. There was a story about a 13-year-old boy who was arrested in a stabbing death of a New York college student. Now, what you can get out of this story is that, let me put it in a different light. What if I told you that there were prophets, different types of prophets, and your child had to figure out which prophet they wanted to follow, whether it's a prophet who talks about drugs, killing, and stabbing? Would you want your child to follow this prophet, or a prophet who tries to keep your child on the right path, giving your child good advice, giving your child things that they will need to create a better future in a better situation? This is the problem that we may be having in story number 7. This is why I crept into the top 8. And back in the day, they called it role models, people to look up to you. You would rather want your child to listen to these people rather than somebody who is going to lead your child down a dangerous path. A Florida man sentenced to 20 years after bringing condoms and a pink dress to a child sex sting. Folks, these are children, and we have to guide them in the right direction. Only one U.S. state has enough therapists to treat children with autism, according to a report. A child in India was raped for money by her father's friends. Very scary stuff. But we have to figure out what we want to do in these situations. An Atlanta mother arrested after abandoning her special needs son, 14, at a hospital. Florida officer physically assaulted in high school brawl. 10 students, 1 adult arrested. So that begs the question in story number 7. We can learn something from this story. Kids are not being treated or doing kid things anymore. They should be out playing, enjoying, understanding the true meaning of Christmas, or the holidays, as you would say. The true meaning is, the reason why there is good things and bad things is because we want to lead them on that journey of greatness. There's something good about greatness. Greatness is good because greatness stems from greatness. I get all tingly inside talking about the magic of greatness, because there is greatness around the holiday season. Believe me, folks. I get all excited talking about greatness because it makes me feel great. Irate teen stabbed her boyfriend with a scissors as he laid in a hospital bed. Where are these teenagers learning this type of behavior? That's not a sign of greatness, folks. That is a sign that they have the wrong role models, and they may be not understanding how to handle things properly. It's not wise to do something like that when you have your whole future ahead of you. Chicago toddler unhurt as his father and another man die in a gunfire exchange. Guns. Those are not to be used in the wrong way, folks. I can only give you advice as the mediator. I cannot make your decisions for you. I can only try to steer you in the right direction so you can get a discount on that insurance policy. There's a lot of love in mediation. Alabama boy, 5, killed in the crossfires between two women. Folks, we're getting closer and closer to the most wonderful time of the year. Matter of fact, we're inside of the most wonderful time of year. And you could be looking at your child and you could want that child to blossom into a great, great human being. There's poetry in this story. Only greatness can come from greatness. There is nothing in greatness that isn't great because great is a great word. It has to be great. If you want to be a contributor to the Mediator, be proud voice, it is my duty every week to preach the gospel of greatness, the greatness of love, genuine love. You're getting it from me, baby, all packed in a bow, and love for the precious holiday season. I'm giving out Christmas gifts. I'm on fire. If you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, Method8.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. I don't want to cheat you around this time of year. I'm going to keep you informed. That is my duty. Wake you up in the morning and give you a story. Take you to bed at night with a story. The stories are coming in, and I'm giving them out for free. But if you want to be a contributor, help out. It doesn't take much. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, Method8.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program if we can arrange it, folks. That's what I'm here for. If you can arrange it, I'm arranging this program for you every week. Coming in here, going through story after story, keeping it clean and spectacular, keeping it great and loving for you. So if you want to be a contributor, I'm reminding you that I just stand in the middle, navigating from the right to the left, watching the pendulum float. I just stand in the middle, finding out which stories are right. The media, the news, the journalists, the people on the front lines, they deserve most of the credit. If you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. METHOD, number 8, INC.com, Method8.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. You can also check out the stories that almost made it in, did make it in. This program is for you. I declare it. I believe in it. So if you want to be a contributor, it doesn't take much. METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, Method8.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. We're headed to story number 8. We've made it to the top story. If you've made it this long, don't give up on me now. Keep on going. Stay informed. You're in the Mediator, me, Brian West, where it's my duty every week to bring you the top headlines and developing news stories. It's above my head. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it, didn't make it in, be a contributor, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, Method8.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every little bit counts. Story number 8, and the final lucky 8-ball story that made it to the top this week. Are cameras and business monopolies bad? So the fact that we're being under surveillance every day and trying to be afraid of business monopolies. A business monopoly, if you're maybe just learning, is basically when a business owns everything and nobody else. There's no competition. Now there's some opinions on this. Tim Cook says monopolies aren't bad if they're not abused. Some people say that business monopolies are bad, like there needs to be competition in businesses. There's even people who will give grants for you to compete with other businesses. U.S. Video surveillance rivals China's, according to a report. That means there are more people watching you than ever before. There are people watching you on the streets, watching your type of behavior, looking at your facial recognition. Michael Douglas says that America's two-party system is not working. Even with the competition with the two-party system, they're saying that it's not working and it's not a monopoly because the Republicans can't hold too much power and the Democrats can't hold too much power. So we're seeing all of this talk about monopolies and businesses and who owns the most chips. And what's scary about story number 8 is like the one key point that I've made throughout this whole show. 1% of the world holds the majority of the world's wealth. That is a scary thing, especially around the precious, because people are holding it in their heart to want to celebrate the holidays and do it in genuine fashion. People go to work. They work very hard for their money. I come in here every week. I have to find sponsors. I have to sponsor the program myself at times. It's very, very scary, folks, with the life that we live. But we have to find some joy to let our hearts be light around this time of year. A Kentucky judge, this is and a Kentucky judge is accused of retaliation and attempting a threesome with staffers and allowing drinking in the courtroom. Even the judges have to be regulated, folks. A Chinese restaurant owned by a white woman had to shut down after 8 months over controversy. So in this story number 8, the reason why it's at the top, because around this holidays, it begs the question is, should there be competition? Should there be cameras watching you? Is it proper? Is it probably the best way to get that memory of your child when they're coming down the steps, however you celebrate the holidays, and they're getting their gifts for being a good child that year, or trying to teach them the fairness of being a parent, the reality of a situation, teaching the work ethic. How do you do this as a parent? And that's the magic of this year, because everybody celebrates differently. Children have friends who they may want to share a gift or a story with their friend. And that's why story number 8 is at the top, because when you teach a child to share, you teach them about not how sometimes they have to have good sportsmanship, and sharing some of their own talents, their own skills, and it's an interesting topic, and that's why story number 8, especially around this time of year, cameras and monopolies, videotaping, going out and sharing the memories, and showing love around this time of year. And it's teaching us all something. It is teaching us all about the magic and the spirit of this time of year and why it's here, why they call it the most wonderful time of the year for a reason. This is a time where people should be getting together and showing love. That's why I try to make this program very, very soft this time of year, trying to find stories that can shine light. There are some crazy, crazy things happen in every story, but in the end, we have to find purpose and meaning, to stay informed, to figure out how we can change things for the betterment of all mankind. There will always be a way to celebrate any type of day, any type of season, any type of birthday. There's always a way to celebrate, but every child will take that from what they learn from you, and they will try to celebrate it that same way with their children as they grow up. I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week with The Mediator, with me, Brian West, where I'm doing my duty, staying in the middle, navigating from the right to the left. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope you get some joy out of this program, some stimulation. I hope you get something to talk about, and most of all, I hope you stay informed. Once again, I always like to try to end the program with thanking all the news outlets and the media, the journalists on the front lines, for keeping us informed. You deserve all the credit. For any false or true YouTuber out there, there is some balance in learning truth and lies, but the people on the front lines, they deserve most of the credit. These are the people who are going in, finding the stories, to try to keep us informed, and that is my duty. Try my best every week to keep you informed. I am out of here, folks. Thank you so much. And remember, go to the website if you want to be a contributor, METHOD, the number at INC.com, methodae.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. I'm out of here, and we're getting closer and closer to the precious, precious day where the sun stood still and all the people came together and sang Kumbaya and Christmas carols and all types of holiday cheer, love, and happiness, and shared some sweet potato pie for the holiday season. Thank you so much for tuning in to me this week. Have a good week, everybody. I am out of here. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is